Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here to give you a review of another product from Rotolight. Previously, I gave you a look at the larger EOS and everything that comes as kind of a part of that, a kind of a hybrid light that does both continuous light output, but then also can be used as an HSS high-speed sync flash. And if you're using a remote trigger, it has Elinchrom Skyport built in, and so if you're using an Elinchrom trigger of some kind or some other compatible triggers, you can actually use it as a flash unit as well. So today we're looking at the little brother of the EOS, and that is the Neo 2. The Neo 2 is actually, well, the original Neo was kind of the first proof of concept for this type of light, which, you know, it does that hybrid nature. And it's really, they kind of tout this as being an ultimate location light, for the reason that if you're a photographer who also does some video or vice versa, it gives you flexibility about the kind of light you can bring along in this case in a very portable package. And so you're talking about a light with the potential of putting out a lux value of, you know, of 2000 at a fairly close distance, but, you know, a fair amount of light, but in a very, very small package. So you have the ability to slowly step the light output all the way up from 0 to 100%. You also have the ability to really play with the color temperature right on board. So you can go as low as 3150 and then go all the way up on the upper end to 6300. And so you can go from a very warm light to a very cool light and along the way, or you can balance somewhere in the middle. Now, because there are, it's not that every LED is a different color, but as you can see, there's a mix in there of the warm and the cool LEDs. It's really about coordinating the balance in between those. And so you're going to get your maximum light output somewhere in the middle where all of those are firing continuously at the same time. So, I mean, just a little hint if you're using it for color temperature. So this particular light is quite a bit different than the one I previewed previously because of its extreme portability. So what you've got is you've got 3 different anchor points, 1/4-inch points, where you can either go with this attachment, which allows you to put it down onto the hot shoe. This is not a hot shoe, so don't think of it as putting it on a hot shoe like a flash. This is a cold shoe, but you would mount it onto the hot shoe of your camera, and so then you could have an on-camera light with a, you know, pretty fair amount of output, you know, for interview style or something like that. You also have a handle, and so if you have an assistant, you can, you know, you can have them move it around. For example, with some of these shots, I actually just had the subject put it down in their lap, and so it was illuminating from below to give a kind of unique look, or even hidden inside of a magazine to give a unique kind of look. And then I was triggering it wirelessly with the Elinchrom Skyport trigger. And so a lot of versatility as to where you're going to put the light. And there's even, you know, you could even, what I've done for these shots, for example, is actually just hung it from a tree or, you know, something nearby, just kind of direct the light and hang it. And so you've got a number of different ways to direct the light itself. Now, nice thing about the all of these Rotolights is that they have a really robust menu system with a, you know, that's designed around a couple of knobs, a power button, and then a couple of knobs. It allows you to go through the various degrees with fixed lighting of controlling the color temperature or the light output. Then you can also go into another menu where you can access the flash mode, and so you've got some different options with the flash on how it's going to function. And then you can also you can program in fades. This is useful if you know, for me, this is much easier for me to do actually in post. But maybe if you're needing to, you know, actually include a fade out, you know, live, you can do that and program the amount of fade and the duration of the fade into it. There's also a number of different effects that you can access here. I've previewed some of these on my previous light, but you've got a wide variety, everything from lightning to simulating a fire effect. You can simulate the effect of flashing lights of a police or emergency vehicle. The flickering light like a television, if you're wanting to get that kind of shot. You can even I set it up to where, and this is where using the trigger comes in handy, to where you can actually, you know, simulate a muzzle flash from a shot, like in my little build-up scene here. And so, you know, it gives you ability to add some effects to your various shots. You can emulate a neon sign. You can emulate film, like in the classic, where there's some flicker from a film projector, welding, and paparazzi. You know, the list goes on and on of the different things that you can do. And so it definitely gives you the ability to program a lot of different light functions into that. You can also set up the lighting ratio depending upon your shutter speed or your aperture if you're not, you know, all that comfortable in just kind of winging that. And so you've got options for that. You also have the option of inserting various gel films to go over the top of this that can help to subtly alter the light if there's a particular look that you're wanting to go for. So I've been primarily using the Neo 2 at this point as a fixed light. I like to go out into the woods and film my episodes just to give a, you know, a variety of looks. And so being able to take location lighting with me is really important to help to balance light ratios between, you know, myself as the subject and then whatever background that I have. And so I've got, as you can see, a light stand set up where I can put the Neo 2. Most of the time I have the EOS here on top, and I've even can add in another light on another arm here. And so that gives me enough of a volume of light output on one stand that I can, you know, pretty much balance most lighting ratios outdoors. And so very, very useful for that. However, it's also useful for shooting portraits. And here are a few portrait shots that I used that I've lit solely with the Neo 2 in a variety of different settings. And of course, the ability to move this light around is extremely useful, and you know, just gives you a lot of different looks. If people are going to be disappointed by the Neo 2, it's going to be in really more than anything about having unrealistic expectations about light output. So I want to be really clear for your sake what that light output is. This is not a true replacement for a strobe, speed light, on-camera flash. While it has the capability to fill in that way, it's not going to put out that degree of power. Think of a guide number more in the range of around 25 as an average, and you can obviously get more than that out of it, but that kind of gives you an idea of what you're dealing with. And so in many cases, about half the light output of a typical strobe or on-camera flash. The other trade-off, however, is that you can, like in this sequence, you can shoot with HSS, that's high-speed sync, and so I can shoot, you know, at high speed, you know, around 8 frames per second with my Sony a7R Mark III through this series and get consistent light output. Now, the Neo 2 is actually powered by high-powered AA rechargeable batteries. Now, they're pretty specific about the kinds of batteries that they want you to use for this, and, you know, pretty strongly discourage using, you know, more pedestrian ones. These are more professional grade that have a rating of 2700 mAh, and so, you know, they're fairly powerful. They're not all that expensive to buy in kit, and so the upside of this approach is that it's easy to swap these out, to buy multiple sets, and so that you can, you know, quickly change them over and not have to worry about charging them. Downside is that you have to use a charger, and, you know, for me personally, what I have, and you can get, you know, obviously larger chargers. The ones I have can only accommodate 4 batteries at a time, so I've got to use a couple of them. You know, not the end of the world. But just note that as being a downside. I also don't find that you get quite as much power output as what I do on the, not power output, but longevity, as what I do with the EOS and its V-Lock battery that I use there. Now, on the note of the V-Lock, on the port here, you can either run a continuous AC adapter in there, or you can also run in from a V-Lock battery, and so you can actually increase power output based on both of those scenarios. But of course, you know, either one of those things is going to somewhat limit the portability of this light, and so most of the time I've actually been using it just with the AA batteries, and, you know, they work fine. I usually get about 2 hours tops out of them, but enough to do, you know, obviously a fair bit of work before I need to swap out batteries or recharge. So at the end of the day, this light, it's more about versatility. As we noted looking in the power output, some people are disappointed by either of these Rotolights, either the Neo 2 or the EOS, because they have unrealistic expectations of them being able to put out a similar strobing power as what an onboard flash would do, or a camera, a flash you can mount on a camera or similar like that, a speed light or strobe. They don't really have that kind of power output, about half really that kind of power output, although you can tweak that up a little bit by going into the max mode with a V-lock or AC power. And so I think it's important to come in with realistic expectations about the power output. In many cases, the Rotolight strengths are more about the quality of the light and the flexibility of the light. You can do a lot of different stuff with these lights, and it's really there that they're going to justify their price tag, which runs about $379 US. They will go on sale occasionally, but they're not cheap. However, they're also extraordinarily versatile. They have very consistent, if you're someone who really values the quality of the light in terms of the consistency of the color output of the light, obviously very good for that. And for someone like myself who does a lot of mixture of both photography and video, it's a godsend to have lights that can do a little bit of both. And so for that, I enjoy using them myself. So if you would like more information, you can look in the description down below, and I'll throw a link there to an image gallery so you can check out some of the photos that I've shown you in this review today, along with some others there. There's buying links if you would like to either research it further or purchase them for yourself, so take a look at that. Beyond there, there are the typical links to follow me on social media or to become a patron, sign up for my newsletter, and if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.